Hey guys, it's Ryan with GPS Plumbing, and today I'm going to show you how to replace a leaking garbage disposal. The tools you'll need to complete your disposal project most likely is going to be a Phillips and flathead screwdriver, a set of tongue and groove pliers. These are the 442s with the V jaw. You may need a set of needle nose pliers if your disposal is hardwired in, something to catch the water, and plumber's putty. The first thing we want to do is make sure that the disposal is safe to start working on. This disposal has an electrical plug, so we can go ahead and unplug that. We want to make sure that the power switch is off. If it's hardwired in, then you'd want to go ahead and shut the circuit breaker off and use your electrical tester to make sure that there's no power going to the disposal. The next thing we're going to do is to go ahead and disconnect the P-trap. There is going to be water in there, so have some sort of dish or something to catch any excess water so it doesn't get on the cabinet and do any damage to the cabinet. Now we're going to go ahead and disconnect this P-trap, and we're ready to catch any water that comes out of it. You don't want any water going on the cabinet base and doing any damage there. I also want to note about this dishwasher drain hose that you always want it looped up where it goes through the cabinet so that you don't get dirty sink water running back into your dishwasher. A lot of times you'll get people complaining of a smell in their dishwasher, and that's caused by the dishwasher drain line not being looped up high. Now that the P-trap's disconnected, you can use your Channellock flathead screwdriver to undo the hose clamp for the dishwasher drain. There may be some water in there as well. And then we're going to disconnect the disposal from the disposal flange. Now these disposals have some weight to them, so be sure to put a hand underneath for some support and be ready when it drops down that it doesn't crush your hand or do any damage to the cabinet. Once you have the disposal unit itself out of the way, we're going to remove this flange, and using our Channellock Phillips screwdriver, go ahead and loosen up these 3 set screws. There's also a snap ring on here that we need to loosen up gently, and it'll pop out. And then this whole flange assembly comes apart. The trim ring will come out of the top. So now that we're up top here, you can go ahead and pull out this trim ring. There's a bunch of plumber's putty under here we'll need to scrape out. You can use a putty knife, an old flathead screwdriver. But you want to get all this old hard putty out of the way for when you put the new flange in. Now this is important to get this nice and clean. This is what creates the seal so that you don't get any drips down into the cabinet. So you can use some old paper towels, some scouring pad. Like I said, something to make sure you get this surface nice and clean and all this old putty is scraped up and out of the way. Unbox the new disposal. Your instructions, warranty information, we're going to leave that up there. Comes with the new flange, new stopper. They do make custom colors for this trim ring. If you have a brush nickel or oil rub bronze, chrome, there are different colors available. This is the standard one that comes from most manufacturers. Small parts, the disposal itself. One very important thing that's often overlooked by homeowners and even some plumbers is to knock out this plug that's in the dishwasher drain inlet here. Now on this house we do have the dishwasher draining into the disposal, so you want to make certain that you knock this plug out. If you don't, you'll end up with water all over the floor because the dishwasher has nowhere to drain its water to. If for some reason the customer doesn't have a dishwasher, or there is no dishwasher drain going into the previous disposal, then you can go ahead and leave this plug in. Now we want to prepare this flange for installation. So just like when removing it before, you can either use your Channellock flathead or your Channellock Phillips to remove these 3 set screws. You don't have to take them out 100%, you just need to back them out most of the way. And again, that snap ring will come off. Here's the snap ring. Just gently push on that. So it goes snap ring, this flange piece with the 3 set screws, this next piece which sits in like this, and the cardboard washer here is not a gasket. This does not seal any water or anything like that. It's strictly for vibration. What is doing the sealing is this trim ring and some plumber's putty. I've seen people use caulking or silicone, which that's not the way that I go about it. I like using the plumber's putty. I always try to use stainless putty as well. Some of the oil-based stuff can leach into some of your marbles, granites, different composite finishes. You want to go ahead and get that putty worked in there really well. You don't need a whole lot. And now it's time to go ahead and back up top and set this trim ring in. You want to look at the lettering and make sure you get that straight. Give it some good pressure there. And then we go back underneath and we'll finish assembling that flange. Back under the sink, we're going to want to put the cardboard, this piece, and the piece with the 3 set screws, and the snap ring goes on last. The snap ring may take some practice. I usually like to face it towards myself and make sure that it's open, and then hold the trim ring from up top. You can start from the back and work your way around the front, and you'll hear it snap into place. Now it's time to tighten the 3 set screws, and I try to do those in rotation, equally. Don't just tighten one all the way down and then move on to the next. You want to tighten them gradually. A good idea too is to go up top every now and then and check and make sure that that trim ring didn't move out of place and it's not lopsided. And you'll see that the putty starts squishing out, the excess putty. You can take care of that once the rest of the disposal installation is complete. You want to get these set screws nice and tight. When a disposal is turned on, it does quite a bit of vibrating, and without having these set screws tight, things could loosen up and start to leak. Now that the flange is installed underneath the sink, we've got the new disposal. We already knocked the plug out. Being that this disposal already has a power cord in it, we don't need to wire in, do our own hard wiring. If so, you could use your Channellock needle nose and Phillips screwdriver to disconnect this plate. hook those up accordingly. Again, these disposals have some weight to them, so you want to make sure you have a good support hand underneath. And make sure that all three of these tabs allow the disposal to lock in. You don't have to lock it in all the way just yet until you get the rest of your parts installed and see how everything's going to line up. Now that you have the disposal hung, you can open up our small parts kit. Inside you'll find some parts for drainage. Now yours may or may not use this piece depending on your particular setup. An unjamming tool, which I'll go over in a second. This rubber gasket, which is going to go inside there. And the other hardware. I'll put this flange on here. Go ahead and screw this in. To tighten that up, you can use your Channellock flathead screwdriver. You can hook up your dishwasher drain hose, again, making sure that that plug has been knocked out. Now it's time to line up the P-trap and finish hooking up your drainage. I wanted to briefly explain some things about a disposal. They come with an unjamming tool. That tool would go directly in the center here and spins the motor free. The motor could jam up either because you have too much waste in there, you haven't used it in a long time, and it's rusted shut. Either way, you want to make sure that the power is off, the switch is off before you stick this in there to try and unjam it. There's also this red reset button. This is like an internal safety switch where if the motor is overloaded, the switch will pop out. Again, you always want to make the disposal safe before doing any type of work on it. That means making sure that the switch is off, that the circuit breaker is off, or that you have the disposal unplugged. So now it's time to use your 442s to go ahead and lock in the disposal. Plug in the power cord. The last step is to put the nut and washer on. If you're using tubular nuts and washers, you always want that cone side going down into the hub of the pipe. And put this all together. I went ahead and pulled up the old putty. You can scrape any excess out. And now it's time to water test. We'll check for the power. Disposal's working correctly. We'll take the supplied stopper. We'll fill the sink up 1 or 2 times with quite a bit of water in it. Run the disposal. Check all of our connections. Check down here at the P-trap. Dishwasher drain hose. A lot of times I'll run the dishwasher through a cycle or two. When these dishwashers drain out, it's a lot of force that is pushed on here, so you want to make sure that your connection here is good and tight. Check your flange for any leaks. We have the sink filling up. And shut that off. Pull the stopper. We can turn the power on. It's working well. Check underneath for leaks. Everything looks good. And that's that. Just some other basic disposal information is that they're not recommended for homes on septic systems and can cause problems in older homes as well. I always recommend that my customers use a disposal for the food scrapings off their plate only. It's really not made to get rid of leftovers or to peel a bunch of potatoes and try and shove it all in there. If you run the water and feed the disposal slowly, you really shouldn't have any issues with it. Hopefully you were able to follow along with that disposal installation and how to put those Channellock tools to good use.